I don't know what happened. I will tell you this though, while he gets his mic going, we've got some really cool guests today. We're going to bring on Brian Fanzo from the NFT 365 podcast. And then we're also going to have my buddy John FullyVoxxed from MemeNFT. He's going to be joining us today. So it's going to be a really cool live stream. Those are two people that I've wanted to meet for quite a while now. So this is going to be awesome. We're going to dive into it in just a second. So when I got Gary back, he actually lost his video right now. It's just kind of what happens in these live streams. But I'll tell you something that me and him did the other day. So on Friday, me and Gary went down to a studio. We completely filmed a whole online course with like full production value, awesome background. We had actors, we had a teleprompter, like we had all of these super cool things that were set up. And what we're doing is we're packaging all of that so that we can onboard new people into the space. And in doing so, we're presenting it in a way that's not boring. So it's going to be really cool that we get to have this information packed in from professional, like I say professionals, but from people who are in it, who are in this space that understand all the different little concepts and the terminology and all of that good stuff. And they're presenting it in a really, really cool way. So yeah, so that's what's coming up. I've got some little samples of that we're going to be posting throughout the week. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to be posting up bits from today. So our guests that are on the live stream on the Weekly Fix Live, they're going to be just kind of sprinkled in throughout our content on Instagram and TikTok. If you don't know, we're on all the social media platforms as well as on Twitter. So a lot of stuff's been going in behind the scenes with the Bulls and Apes project. And I could just tell you that there's talk about God Bowl utility. There's all these really, really cool things that are coming up. And I don't know. I could just say, from somebody who's used to running my own show and running a business and doing all of the different little things and all those moving pieces, it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff to keep track of and a lot of I don't know, people that are involved in that process. So when it comes to a team that has like 40 plus people, it is infinitely more complex than that. So we do these live streams, we do the daily shows. We have our awesome friends come in and join us. I see Fanzo just joined backstage. And I don't know, we've got a lot of stuff that's always working. So if you're ever curious, if it's ever a little teeny bit quiet and you're like, I wonder what's going on with the Bulls and Apes guys. I wonder what's going on in the community. Win this, win that. Just know there's so much. It's like they say the duck on the pond. All you see is it just floating past, but what you don't see is his little feet kicking like crazy under the surface. So yeah, I'm just gonna dive right in and I think we're gonna start with John. This is an interesting situation where I literally lost my co-host right when we started, and that's okay. You gotta wing it. So actually, I was gonna start with John. My first guest today, I want to play an intro for you. This is something that I'm super jealous of. I just told him this in the background. I have to make this. This is another one of those little moving pieces that you got to put together. So without further ado, I want to introduce my guy Fanzo by showing you the thing that I wish I had for this live stream. And then we'll introduce him and we'll get going from there. Here we go.
You're listening to NFT 365, the first daily podcast on NFTs with your host, Fanzo, talking crypto.
Oh, I killed it.
You're listening to NFT 365, the first daily podcast on NFTs with your host, Fanzo, talking crypto, blockchain, Web3, non-fungible tokens, metaverse, and...
What the f*** is a non-fungible token?
We'll get to that.
Fanzo, how do you do this all the time and not just feel silly and mess up like I just did? That was so good.
It's the only guarantee in live video. There's only one, and it's that something will go wrong. So when something goes wrong, the co-host disappearing, you've already got it out of the way. You're literally good to go now.
Yeah, I was so funny. I was like I was sitting there watching the video, and then like my finger touched the mouse and it turned it off, and then you see my face looking like in the background. Classic. Good times, dude.
Literally, story of my life.
Thank you for being here. This is so dope. Like, I probably wanted to do this with you and have you on the, like, we got our cool little glowing backgrounds and we got hats on. Like, we're cut from the same cloth, my man. I love it.
We are. I love it. I know the cool backgrounds. I just leveled up mine. my team was giving me crap about my background for like months on end. It was very chaotic and a lot of stuff going back on there, but we finally like leveled up, got the neon sign and got the green screen going. So I got like random purple brick in my background, but yeah, it works.
There you go. I love it. Okay, well, so I know all sorts of stuff about you and our background. We'll get to that later. But I do want to just ask, like, you've been at this doing a podcast 365 days in a row. I understand that you are hundreds of episodes into what you've been up to. Can you give me a little bit of background about what you're doing? And I'll ask you some more questions, but how did this whole thing start that you got into this whole podcast?
Yeah. I mean, so, I've had 7 podcasts previously. And, for me, I've been an early adopter on everything back to, like I jailbroke an iPhone 3. Like I stayed up all night, jailbroke an iPhone 3 and was like the guy that was testing out like what apps could be hacked on an iPhone. This is many, many years ago. And then like, Google Plus, I was one of the first that started a Google Plus weekly TV show. And we did it, for 300 and some episodes. I had Tony Robbins, Damon John on there. But it was Google Plus. And of course, so I had a lot of things. I've been like, live video, Meerkat. I did, 2,500 live streams in 2 years between Meerkat and Periscope and Blab and a lot of this tech. And so for me, like, I like to think like I failed at, I was there at a lot of these early adoption phases, but I kept like, I would either go all in or I would turn it into like a brand play. And so for me, I found out, I got a coin now 18 months ago. And I was like, right. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with this coin, but apparently I have like this creator coin and crypto wasn't my background. I'm not a financial guy, but I've always built community and content. And so like, as I was leaning into it, of course, the smart contract component of this world excited me, but I really wasn't sold on what was going to be my footprint. My full-time gig is a keynote speaker, traveling around, speaking at events. And I know like, I love the early adoption phase, but like they don't pay for speakers, right? It's I go speak to IBM about personal branding as if it's like a new topic. That's who pays me now, right? For speaking, right? Not like bleeding edge, companies that want to hear about the blockchain. And we went to New York for NFT NYC back in November, not this past one, the one before. And on day one, we got an invite to the Beeple Gary V private screening of the documentary. And I've worked with Vayner and their team dating back all the way back to 2013. And we went there, Drew and I, just to kind of hang out. I knew the Beeple story kind of like surface level, like, hey, he made a crap load of money selling digital art, but I didn't really know the story. And I had the chance to meet him. Of course, I've known Gary for a while, and Gary kind of gave me shit. He grabbed me by my shoulders. He's like, Fanzo, he's like, I'm so glad you're in the Web3 space. He's like, but for a change, be selfish, make it about you. And I was laughing, like, whatever, Gary. And like the long story of that is, for a while he used me as the example for his main book, like jab, 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 right hook. Like, Don't be like Fanzo and forget the right hook. Because he was like, Brian's people, Reddit amplifying, but I would forget to like make the sale, make the, not forget, but I would kind of go other different ways. And so, that whole NFT NYC, Drew and I were like, what are we going to do that can really make an impact in this space? And I remember like, I'm on Apple Podcasts and I'm searching NFTs. And I was like, man, there's only like 3 that are currently creating NFTs. Like there was like 10, but they hadn't had an episode in 5 or 6 months. And so we were on the train on the way back and I said, I think we should do a podcast. And Drew's like, hell yeah. And I'm like, but there's no way we could do a podcast in this space because it changes too much. The space is too chaotic. I was like, we'd have to do it daily. And he's like, that's a great idea. And I will tell you, I did not throw it out there as if I wanted to do a daily podcast. It was more of like, yeah, podcasting doesn't sound like great because we'd have to do it daily. And I said, well, the problem with that is there's still a financial component. And I'm not big into making the 1% only rich. I like, kind of removing that barrier. And I said, what people did was like, people created that, that 5,000 images every single day that created a mirage or his mosaic. Right. Said, what if we did that in NFTs? Like we create a time capsule where we buy an NFT every day for a year and then we just sell the whole thing like people did. Well, first of all, I didn't even like forecast how much money that would actually, or crypto would cost me to buy an NFT every day. Nor did I even think like that was like my throw it on and like, okay, now we have something. But, selfishly, I was like, sure. And I'm a numbers guy with my, me with ADHD. Like part of it is like, I need numbers and things like to remember things or, inspire me. And so this was on 11/6 or 11/5 on November 5th. And I said, well, if we're going to do it, we should launch 11/11. So that's a cool number to finish on next year at 11/11/22. And lo and behold, that day came and I launched, episode 1 of the podcast. And today, episode 277 went live. So we have 89 days left, which is just, kind of wild to think about. And it's been way more work than I ever thought. We had, a team of 2 when we launched. We now have a team of 14 that run, between the team, the podcast, and all those things. But I also can't picture not doing it right now. So it's like one of those things that I never would have imagined I could do a consistent podcast like this every day, but now I can't imagine not doing it. So yeah, that's kind of the origin of it. And, we just hit 1.2 million downloads on across the podcasting apps. And it's by far the most successful podcast I've ever had. And I mean, I think if you added up my first 7 together, I don't think I had 1.2 million downloads of all of them combined. So yeah, it's been fun so far.
Dude, I honestly love the podcast. I love a couple, standout episodes for me. It's funny because they're so different. When I was just getting into the space and I already knew that you were very much in here and you were making moves and you were doing cool stuff. I literally listened to your terminology pod. You had one episode that was just about terms. And I sent you a message and I was like, bro, this helped me a lot. So many stupid acronyms that I was like, what the hell does that mean? Yep. Like, I just didn't get it. And I was like, everybody's throwing around these terms like I should know what they mean. But like, I mean, you covered everything. You literally, like, very effectively in 40 minutes or so just blew through all of those things. And I was like, wow, that's honestly such solid content in a space that, bro, like, they just suck at content in this space. They're not good at it. Yep. They don't like it's a communication thing. It's, the information, but your delivery is trash, or your delivery is good, but you barely know what you're talking about. There's very few things there. And I saw your question that you did just yesterday. Let me ask you about that. I think it was yesterday on Twitter. You asked about content creation and education. So how did that go? What was the post?
It went pretty interesting. I was asking more about, like, what do people love about, what does great educational content look like to people, right? Because one of the things I love about being an early adopter, right, is we get to set the culture, we get to kind of lean on things. And I don't believe being first is necessary for everything, right? Like, even with a podcast, I've interviewed, I think, 5 podcasters that have Web3 podcasts on my podcast. And people are like, what the hell are you doing? And I'm like, hey, we need more. And I want, if someone resonates with someone that, better from an education. But one of the things I don't like, we talk about some things become buzzwords. I believe there's certain things we can not allow become buzzwords. Like, by not allowing, it's like, we just have to make sure to hold people accountable. And one of them has been like the word community and even content. You and I have talked about that. I remember we had some great conversations on Clubhouse back in the day in that origin. But like, the word education was an interesting one for me, because I had some projects and people that were, looking at me to advise, and they're like, Brian, we got the education thing down. We had a Zoom call when we walked people through getting their wallets. So they're good on their education on NFTs. And I was like, are they? Are they good after like one Zoom call? Like, because to your point, like, the terminology is a nightmare. And I worked, in cybersecurity for the government for a decade. And like, the only place that terminology is worst is the government. Like, there is more acronyms for everything that is ever known to man, right? Like, we had this training manual that we deployed when I was in Iraq. I remember everyone was like, I can't believe the book's this long. I'm like, it's not. It's like 30 pages of terms and like translating that. And it's just 4 pages of actual content. Like, the rest of it was just, what the hell do all these different acronyms, DOD, DHS, all that stuff. And so this space meant something to me, but I also think of it as like, there's a difference also of being like a great content creator where you capture people's attention, to your point, versus like educating people to the point where you're moving them forward on their journey. And I think I'm just really conscious of like, I want to amplify other educators, but I think some people are getting like kind of like, deemed like, hey, you're a great educator in the NFT space. I'm like, are they, or are they just talk about a lot of topics? Like, cause like both are often needed, but TikTok's a great example, right? Like, there are a lot of people that have a huge TikTok following. They just read the news. They literally will tell you, today, what happened in crypto today? NFTs, on Coinbase, and which is, hey, that information and content's needed, but labeling that as education, I think gets us in like a dangerous path. And so that's kind of the origin of that. And I tell you what, a lot of people talked about, making it actionable, making it relatable. And they also talked about it in the different mediums, which I think, is probably the hardest part. Like, I mean, we can joke, like, I mean, how many great blogs are there on NFTs? There are not very many great blogs. Like, I mean, we could go back to Web 1. Even the sites that are being deemed like great educational sites, if you drive like a layer down, a lot of the content was created November, December, January, and a lot of those trends are so different now. So it's definitely an interesting space, no doubt.
Yeah, well, and as fast as everything goes, it's like the second that you've put it out, if somebody else regurgitates that 3 months later, like, and that's, to be, frank, like most industries have the people that make the content, and then 99% of everyone else is a parrot. And they just say the same thing that person said. It's a big old echo chamber and everybody accepts it. It doesn't make it right. And then the other, kind of rule of thumb is that perception is reality. So in a lot of verticals, like my Web 2 life, it wasn't that I was better than all these other guys that were doing the same thing that I was doing. I was just more visible. So they just assumed that I was right and I was the best. And I was like, no, there's guys that are way smarter, way more talented, and way more invested into doing the tech and the actual know-how in these electronics and all the stuff that I was doing, but you've never heard of them, and you probably never will. You hear me because I make a bunch of noise. It doesn't make me the rightest. It just makes me the most visible. So speaking of visible,
it goes into debunking that whole thing too. Where I mean, I always despise the idea of like those that can't teach, and I'm like in this space, I would challenge that notion every minute of every day. Like, I mean, we both, like Sammy Arriaga as a musician, that dude knows blockchain, NFTs, minting, wallet management, more than 99% of the people that are being labeled as a expert in this space. And he's a musician, right? And he had to lean in on that because he knew as like the first pushing that limit, he had to be proficient. And like for me, like he's teaching it because there's no other option. And so like I love debunking that. Like I love going at that narrative. And I love what you guys are doing on Bulls and Apes. Like I said this, when we interviewed back on the thing, like there needs to be more NFT projects embracing video, right? Like I saw the video come across today, and I think it was Manny, and he was like, "Hey, be careful when you're copy pasting your wallet address." And I literally shared it to our group on the back end because I'm like, this is the content we need, and it needs to come
shareable
out
content.
Every project, right? Like,
I want to share some really good content with you right now. I call this content Gary. Hi, Gary.
What's up, fellas? Can you hear me? Hey, Fanzo.
I can. You got a nice loud mic there. Sorry, man. I was like, I was all teed up, perfect. I was like, speaking of visibility, and I was gonna click the button, but then I didn't want to cut off Fanzo, so I was like, I'll hold that thought. I'll find another sneaky way to get him in here.
So I'll tell you what happened. It's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened, I think, to me. So we're ready for the show. You and I are talking, right? And my door is open in my office. I'm like, I got all kinds of noise out there. I'm like, oh crap. I see the countdown. I need to jump up and shut the door. My foot was wrapped around a cord, and as I jumped up, my computer, everything hit the floor. I was like, no.
I heard it, but I didn't know what it was, and I was just like, I think Ninja's just got Gary. Yeah, I think it's a done deal.
Everything hit the floor. So I'm in here scrambling, plugging stuff in, trying to figure it out, all the cords, and it took me a while to figure out I had one last cord that I hadn't had plugged in. That's why I wasn't on video, but I figured it out and I'm here. So, hey.
Well, I mean, perfect timing. We're talking about education. We're talking, Anthony's video earlier. I know you said Manny. Anthony did the video earlier. But how it works, though, is like we have all these video topics that we know people need to know about. And so instead of it just being like, like Anthony knows everything about XYZ and Chris knows about that. Like we all know certain things that we can use to onboard our friends and family. And I feel like every collection has multiple people on their team that could do onboarding information. So it doesn't just have to be from one person because that's what makes it shareable. Maybe the way Anthony speaks is different than the way that I would say something or different than the way that Gary would say something. And so to make that shareable, it makes sense to have the same kind of topic covered by multiple people. That's what I've brought to the team and said, this is my strategy for getting onboarding content out there. And I say that to everybody. This is not like some proprietary Bulls and Apes or Chris Derifeve thing. This is like, we know about onboarding because we've been onboarded into the space. So our unique story, sharing that with other people, gets them into the space. Like, we all need to be, kind of collectively making the pathway in here easier so that we can mass onboard. I mean, that's what I think.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree. It's I don't know how much you guys talked before I was able to jump on the 15 minutes I was missing.
We just waited. We didn't say anything. We're like, let's just wait.
Nothing, right? It was all, we got to wait for Gary. He's got to come on. No, the education aspect is something that's super important to me as well. I mean, I've only been in the space since, October of last year. It was a struggle. I mean, I stayed away from it for so long just because it seemed so confusing and unnatural and all these things you had to do. And the barrier of entry was so high. So education has got to be key. And I did hear the Fanzo say, the buzzwords, be careful of the buzzwords, right? Everybody talks about education. But I think there's so many different ways of delivering it. Like you said, Chris, doing this short content, we just got done filming on Friday, our educational programs, which is going to be a completely different take on how we're delivering it. So super important to bring it to the community in a lot of different formats and a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could just say, as somebody who's done daily live streams for only a couple months, I was watching my friend Pat Flynn do that, and boy, did he look like he was spent by the time that was done. Brian, you don't look like you're spent. Like, I mean, you're honestly, you show up. Yeah. Like, I hear you on spaces. I hear you contributing, and you're obviously just chipping away at the mountain, my man. So does it feel like that, or?
Yeah, I would be lying if there wasn't days where it's like, oh damn, like I still got to do my episode today, or or trying to get ahead. Right, those are the days. Like anyone, like trying to batch record, and that's actually part of the thing that I think I underestimated was buying an NFT every day in the mint phase. I can't batch record that. Like literally, I have to do that on the day, right? And I've had COVID twice in the last 45 days. Like I got the PO app from NFT NYC. I came on with that COVID. And then for whatever reason, apparently like 3 weeks later, they're like, oh, you're going to get it again from the airplane. And like, in a way, like I'm one that like, I wake up happy, go to bed happy, but I'm also, the neurodiversity kicks in. I go through the mental highs and lows. I go through the imposter syndrome as much as people would make that hard to believe. But for me, like I figured out how to set myself up. Like, so days that I'm low, you'll notice I go live on IG Live. Right. Because IG Live, like just seeing the live audience, I'm like, oh yeah, let's do this. I'm ready to rock. Like, just like I feed off of them asking questions, and then I go record. Right. The days where I'm like, I'm ready to go. Like, this is the topic, I just rock and roll on there. And, I put, when people do, like, I look at the success of the podcast equally the amount of time I spend, listening, learning in Twitter spaces, active in a bunch of these Discords, as it is, creating the podcast every day. But, it's, I get, the dopamine hit for me, hitting that record button. It's also the same as what I do, full time, getting on stage. Right? Like, there's never, like, I will say, knock on wood, I don't feel like I've ever mailed in one time taking the stage, and I take a lot of pride on that because, like, one time I had the same time as Michelle Obama's surprise, keynote. It was in an event. It was a healthcare event in Las Vegas, and I had a room set for 480. And 11 people were in it. 11. Like, and oof. I was like, and they were like, Brian, the good news is, like, just know they were all in Michelle Obama's room next door. And I was like, what the hell? And I got up there, and then I was like, well, I can't do this on stage. I jumped down. But I will tell you, like, of those 11, 3 of them hired me to speak at their company because they were blown away that I still delivered, even though there was only 11. And so I guess, like, for me, it's kind of built into the DNA of, like, once it's go time, I'm going to deliver to the best of my ability. And, but yeah, 277 days in a row. It's been, it's no doubt. It's been a lot. And, counting down for sure. November 11th can't come soon enough.
November 11th. Dang, you guys have anything big planned for it?
Well, we're going to sell the mosaic on that day. So that's, one of the biggest things, so whoever, we're going to have the one NFT available, whoever buys that will get all 365, including our bulls and apes that is in there. And so, like, that's a big piece of it. And then we also have kind of like our season 2, like, this definitely isn't the end. We have some big announcements that will lead up to that, kind of around that day. But like, my hope is, November 12th, we're doing like some like throwback episode or like greatest hits. And, I'm on a beach somewhere getting drunk. So that's the plan for November 12th, I hope, at least.
So that's my question. So coming November 11th, you're 365, you've accomplished your goal. You've done it 365 days in a row. You got all your NFTs. Is that 365 going to carry? Is it going to be an everyday thing? Are you going to dial that back, or where are you guys going to be with it?
Yeah, I think we're still working through. I think there will be a podcast component of 365 for sure. I don't see that. The buying an NFT every day. I had no idea how hard that was going to be. The amount of research, and then you have to have the ETH on the right blockchain, and you have to have, ETH or crypto, whatever it may be. We've done 15 blockchains, and I really take a lot of pride of, even if the projects fail that are part of our collection, I take pride in knowing that I picked the very best one that I could get my hands on that day. And man, has that been a lot of work. Even yesterday is a good example of the project that I thought we were minting. They minted out way faster than I imagined. It was a small collection on crypto.com. And so then I was like, okay, well, plan B. And of course I had a plan B. But then there was a plan C that was probably going to be better, but I wasn't confident they were going to launch, right? So I ended up minting plan B. Plan C dropped last night. And I'm like, well, hopefully they don't mint out so I can do them today, right? And all of those, and I've been doing that every single day, right? And so some days are no brainers. I know that's the one I'm gonna mint. I have the allow list or whatever it may be. There's other days like yesterday that, I think it was 11:10 p.m. last night when I bought yesterday's NFT, and it's just, it's part of the journey. So I think we might figure out what a time capsule looks differently for the next year, but I think it's pretty neat. We'll be able to look back and say, for the 365 days, November 11th to November 11th, here's one NFT that dropped every single day for a year. I'm pretty proud of that. And it's gonna be hard for me to let go of not doing something in that range for next year as well.
Very cool.
Dude, I can't even imagine. It's so much. The things that I do on the day-to-day are, I feel like it's a lot. And then when I go do something like when we shot at the studio on Friday, I'm just like, oh my God, I can't even imagine what that would be like. But I remember the mental tax of showing up, preparing for something every day. Just even this weekly live stream, once a week I have to show up. I have to make sure that if things change, and we're all human, so something happens, somebody's kid is sick or something like that. We set up a whole shoot the other day, and Gary was on it. I learned so much from him just the other day. But he had all these things dialed, and then it came down to the fact that it was okay, so it's going to be on Thursday because that's the day that works for this person and that person, and it's perfect and everything is good. And I got off the phone. I was like, yes, this is awesome. Go talk to my wife. Babe, Thursday, we're going to go. It's going to be this dope studio. We're going to do this and that. She's like, Thursday is your 5-year-old's first day of school in his life.
Yeah.
Also,
he gets one of those.
He gets one of those.
One.
Yeah.
I was
That's okay. We pivot.
And I hit up Gary, and he's like, you can't miss that. And it was that was beautiful. So, even as we speak now, I'm sitting here. I went to upload a video in the background so that I can bring on our next guest here. And as that was happening, it was saying it was too big of a size. So I had to open Final Cut Pro, edit a video, export it, make sure that it was small enough to actually fit. And I am watching it approach about 90% uploaded in the background just so that we can do this. Point being, you just pivot. You make sure all those little things happen. And if this didn't happen, I'd be bored. Yeah. If it was too easy to do my day-to-day, I'd be miserable.
I believe it's one of the most important skill sets today is being able to roll with the punches, right? I don't think there could be, life changes, shit changes, things, Gary, you guys did that well. I remember on the reveal day or the God Bull day, right, where you guys were doing the live stream on that, and I watched every minute of that, right? And I think there's an element of well, a lot of this is unpredictable, and where do we go with this? And Gary, I've told you this at New York, New York. I loved your content on the tokenomics approach, and really to me so much of that was confusing as hell for so many of us, and your ability to deliver that in a way that is not only concise but also kind of opens possibilities. For me, I look at it twofold, as a Bulls and Apes holder, but also as hey, what else can I help people teach their projects to integrate things in? And I think, those that are willing to be able to roll with the punches, right? Be able to adapt, upload the video in the background. And, that's the unsung things, right? That's the things that if people really understood all that shit we have to do kind of around just talking, I think it's people would, see it a little bit differently, but I think that's just part of the game.
If we do our job right, they see the tip of the iceberg, right?
Right.
They don't know what's happening under the surface.
It's like a duck, right? You don't see the feet going like crazy under the water. All you see is
I already used that one earlier. I love that. It's such a good.
Used twice on one episode. That's a good reference to use. I like it.
Let's go. All right. Well, having said that and talking about the things in the background and all that, and hopefully before I hear the family freaking out in the background, I'm gonna roll this video, and when we come back, you're gonna see one of my favorite people in the NFT space. We're gonna chop it up with FullyVoxxed. So here we go. This is their video from NFTLA. It's just a little clip of it, so enjoy.
If you feeling, 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 if you feeling.
Well, my ear hurts, but I'm so happy I see one of my favorite people. What up, FullyVoxxed?
What up,
how you doing,
Chris, Fanzo, Tank? How we doing, everybody?
Good. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. I was enjoying listening to that entire conversation.
Good. It was funny to see you down there in the back, and I was like, man, I know we're about 30 minutes in. I feel good. I love this. I have been wanting you to hear about Fanzo and Fanzo to hear about you and your awesome crew of merry men. I swear, I love those guys. They were the life of NFTLA, and it's pretty much been that way every single place that we go to across the country. So, yeah, man, I want you to give me a little bit of background before we dive into MemeNFT. I want to just find out, like, FullyVoxxed. Where did this FullyVoxxed character come from? How'd you get involved in the NFT space? And then from there, I'm going to take it into where MemeNFT came from.
So this is a great little origin story here. So FullyVoxxed, I was my first project I came into the crypto space. I was in tokens and like Binance and all that. I was working on projects and things. And I started on this project, and this is where I met Daniel Moncada. If you guys know him, he was in the video there. He's off of Breaking Bad. He's my chief branding officer at MemeNFT, and that's where I met him. And I was doing moderation work at first, and then I started moving up to VCs. And I've always been that, like, the funny guy in the group, in my friend communities, my military communities, all that stuff. I always try to make people laugh. So
wait. Let's do that really quick. Well, before the story goes on, Can I get a yeah?
Oh yeah.
Okay, just so you know, this people will laugh. Okay, continue with the story.
Yeah. So where was I? So
That was totally my fault.
It's
I think
okay.
You were talking about your friend. You were talking about Daniel Moncada and your guys, like when you were coming out of the BSC space, I think.
Oh yeah. So I met Daniel there, and I just used to be the funny guy, right, in my group. Never really done anything comedic related or anything like that. I just like talking to people, having a good time. And Daniel was like, dude, he's like, you have a lot of talent, man. He's like, are you getting paid for what you're doing? And I was like, no, I was just kind of learning the space at the time. And he's like, well, I'm going to get you paid doing something. He's like, cause you had me cracking up on that space. He goes, I could see you being very successful. So I never, when someone tells you, like, you're the happiest when you're doing something that you love. Like, I never thought I would experience that until Daniel basically made it aware to me, like, hey, your personality is something that people like and that they would enjoy. And I was like, holy cow. I was like, no freaking way. He got me a job that paid me like $8,000 a month, like like 2 weeks later, and then we've been working with each other ever since. And but it was amazing that it took somebody to tell me that I had talent for me to actually realize that. I just thought me doing my little voices and all that was just me being a dork and like, you know, trying to have a fun for my family and my friends and stuff. But it's freaking awesome. So FullyVoxxed, we were sitting in there one day and we were like, man, what can my name be? Like, you know, doxing. Everybody's talking about doxing, and then that's how FullyVoxxed came. We were like, FullyVoxxed, like my voice is doxed. You know what I mean? But it was a play on words too, because I've always been fully doxed in the space, not knowing any better. I came into crypto as Jonathan DeLucia, nothing else, and then FullyVoxxed was born out of that. So
That's funny.
yeah.
I've literally never heard that story, and we've been goofing around at many a place for months. So that's hilarious. So yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And I know you got involved with like Apocalyptic Apes and in different communities, and like made some bags, and it got to enjoy some you know, benefits of the space, you know, just full on, you know, like just bull market. Everything was just popping, firing off like crazy. And for some reason, that it just making money off of other people wasn't where it ended, and something happened, and you decide that you need to build out a whole marketplace and serve, you know, the people's marketplace, from what I understand. Tell us,
Yes.
where did MemeNFT come from, man?
So as you all may have known, Pickles, or Mr. Pickles, Fully Pickled, that's the COO of my project. He is one of the original founders of MemeNFT. I was on the team at the beginning just as a VC person, because I was on another project and he was my homie. So, you know, I just, you know, helped him in the VCs and had a good time doing that. But then once I became available off the other project I was on, within a short amount of time, they offered me the CEO position, and we've been just growing and moving ever since. But not at this like alarmingly fast rate that you see a lot of these projects that fail, because they pump up too big in the beginning. They create false expectations. They come crashing down, and it just never recovers. So when we started this journey, we were like, well, let's do the organic approach, and let's provide a platform that people actually want to come to, not that they have to come to it. And then we started thinking about ideas like, okay, well, as an NFT trader, as somebody that does this for a living, like I need like 5 or 6 different websites to go to ensure I'm buying in on the right project early enough, flipping it, turning around, doing all these things. So then it was more like, okay, well, let's start developing this platform that the people have an actual opinion on and what we do. So then we started getting ideas from the community. We started think tanking, and we're like, okay, well, let's do our own rarity system. Let's do a chat program. Let's do a leveling system. Let's do a 3D avatar where you'll be able to buy the clothes inside of the marketplace and everything like that. Then we can partner with, you know, big major brands and stuff down the road. Like this marketplace is going to be what you make out of it, and that's the best part. I don't want anyone to ever feel like they have to come to MemeNFT. I want you to come there because you're like, that marketplace is dope. They care about the community. They're all about onboarding. They're all about education. You know, one of those buzzwords again. Yeah. And they actually want to see a difference. So like, you know, not only are we cheaper than, you know, Broken Sea, I'm going to call them Broken Sea, yeah. But on that, but we actually reinvest 50% of our marketplace fees back to the community in a reward system for token holders, and a staking pool that we have going on for that, or that we're about to start for that, as well as reflections on our contract for the token. So we're trying to give back as much as we can to the community, as well as elevate one-of-one artists too, because that, you know, that's where art really generated from, was this beautiful one-of-one art. You know, I always say this, like in the private sector, like us as people, like, where did you go to buy art? I have no idea where you would go to buy art unless you found some kind of gallery or something, right? Or somebody that told you, right? So having a marketplace like this is amazing, because you can introduce so many people to art at their fingertips. So we wanted to make sure that our platform wasn't so focused on just PFP projects. We wanted it to be one-of-one projects as well. We want this whole ecosystem. That's why we're so hard up to work with Bulls and Apes too. I've had many conversations with Anthony about this, is because the ethos there is exactly lined up with what we're trying to do. We're trying to make our footmark in this system while it's early, so people understand right away, like, okay, that platform there, they really do care about the investors as well as the Web3 space in general. So I know that was a lot of word vomit.
You're building. Listen, I love everybody on the team. I've hung out with you guys. I've helped people unpack U-Hauls and move into their house. Like, this is not something that I would recommend do for people that you don't like. And it's 100% my pleasure to do it. And I feel like a big thing that you guys share with me is that you want to see other people, like you want to see those people connect. I want to see the Fanzos meet the FullyVoxxed. You know what I mean? I want to see different people come together, and whatever magic happens, because that's the right person and a bridge needs to be built. I think it's on everybody in the space, if you care about the space, to be building those bridges and just connecting different people and letting serendipity come to pass. Like, I mean, situations like this today, a live stream where, you know, there's people that were supposed to come that didn't, and then it turned into this. I'm here for it. I mean, I think this is the best. So, yeah, I mean, I'd say, Gary, if you've got any questions or Fanzo for John about MemeNFT, I'd say fire away, because I'm excited about a couple things that I'll chime in if you guys don't got questions. But
no, you know, it's funny because before I got on, I wanted to get on. I'd been on the site before, so I got on before we got on. The site is so clean. I love the dark background, love the contrast. Your layout is awesome. You know, just the ease. I'm on, by the way, I'm speaking of the site. It's the beta site. It's the current V1 version 1 beta site. So super clean. Love the layout. You know what I really like is that when I open up the NFT, it really blows it up to a large format on my screen, so I can really see it. It's one of the things I struggle with. You know, OpenSea is you open it up and you want to really get a feel what the NFT looks like, and it doesn't blow it up very big. And I've got it on my small screen over here, and it's vibrant and it's big. It's really cool. I love the layout. One thing I was going to ask you, and I don't know, Chris, if you touched on this while I was gone for 15 minutes, couldn't get on. Oh my God. But, you know, I read an article that came out a couple of days ago about what OpenSea is doing with these stolen NFTs, and how they're changing their approach on, blocking the NFTs for resale. And it used to be just across the board. You know, you report the NFT stolen, it would get blocked, blacklisted, and you wouldn't be able to resell it unless you went off site. And it was really bad because, you know, it sucks that it's happening to the holders. But when we hear about hacking, is it really a true hack? You know, no, usually it's big carelessness, right? It's usually the lack of education of the holders, you know, going onto those free mints, clicking on something they shouldn't click, you know, authorizing a signature on a contract where the contract then gives authorization to go in and clean your wallet out. And it's usually carelessness, and it's not a true hack. But the people that really get affected are the people that are rebuying these. You know, before it can get reported, you've got people that go in and buy, and now they're holding this asset that they have no control over. So OpenSea announced that they're going to do this new program with 7 days. So you can report it stolen. You've got 7 days. Within that 7 days, you have to submit a formal police report. So it's making the person that's claiming it getting stolen to do the legwork to get a police report made. And if you don't, then it's unlisted and can be sold. So curious, FullyVoxxed, what is your opinion on that? Are you guys thinking about something like that? How are you guys going to approach this whole stolen, scam, hacked NFT situation, especially now, which is really prevalent in the space?
So I kind of have multiple opinions on this, but we are a decentralized marketplace. So in terms of that, I mean, I never believed in them blocking the stolen NFT to begin with, because how are we supposed to know as consumers, right? Like, right. I had somebody tell me to go buy an NFT that was on the floor on Apocalyptic Apes once. I bought it and I had it for like 2 months. It wasn't flagged. And then I traded it to somebody else. And then like 2 weeks later, the person flagged it. And we're like, are you kidding me? Like, it's been months at this point. So now he's feeling some type of way because he got a stolen NFT, and I'm over here like feeling guilty and I did nothing wrong. You know what I mean? So my take on that is, I don't think it's really in terms of, unless it's like some huge scheme of fraud going on. I don't really think it's on the marketplace to stop you from being able to trade that in your wallet when you, as the person buying it, had no idea. But that's my personal take on it. We're going to do everything legally that we have to on this marketplace. As far as what I'm concerned from our lawyer is that's not an issue with the way we have ours. I mean, we're also under Nevis as well. So, but I mean, for me, it's not an issue. But as terms of fraudulent projects that are coming up and stealing art and things like that, that was one of the first things we implemented. So if a collection gets launched that's like a fake of something or whatever, like, we have a blacklist function. We can completely remove that. off the platform right away. So that we are taking measures on that, but I just think it's kind of hard for any of us to really say what really happened, what didn't, like, because like you said, hacking in a sense, right? Yeah, you giving your seed phrase away to somebody else because you don't know any better is not hacking. You clicking on a link is technically not hacking. That's phishing. You shouldn't have clicked on that to begin with, unless somebody like was able to get on your phone and hack your password or something like that, or something like that might be hacking. But
Right.
most of the time, like you said, it's not hacking. It's just people being careless. But those are the people that we need to really try and educate, because they'll get in early and they'll get right out early.
Yeah, and that's been the struggle, I think, with a lot of projects is, we're all about onboarding into this space. We're all fishing in the same pond right now, and there's only so much going around, and we want to bring Web2 people, we want to bring new people into this space, and the minute somebody new comes in and they don't know any better, and then boom, their NFTs are gone. I mean, we've had the same situation in our project. We launched in a bear market, but then we launched in this summer of scams. It's what I've been calling it. It seems like there's a summer of scams out there, and unfortunately, we brought so many new people into the project that a lot of those new people are the ones that are getting taken, and it just leaves a bad taste in their mouth. And then they're like, okay, well, everything that I heard about this space is true. It's all a bunch of scams. It's, I'm out of here. I'm not going to be involved with this anymore. And that's the bad thing. That's what I guess as community members, as projects, as the executives on a project, it's my job to try to educate the people within my community to say, hey, you know what, guys, let's walk you through this. Don't do this. We're in Discord constantly. Don't click on any DMs. If it's a free mint, we recommend getting a separate wallet, what we call a burner wallet that's got a little bit of ETH in it. So if you do get something that's questionable, you're not impacting the rest of your collection, regardless whether it's our project or anybody else's. We don't want to see anybody hurt. We don't want to see anybody's project get damaged, because it not only damages the person that's getting them stolen, it damages the person that's purchasing them, but it damages us as well as a project. They get scooped up and then they get dumped on the floor, and that's what we're looking at. We're like, oh, here we go again. So it's tough, but we're all here together. So
let me throw in. I worked a decade in cybersecurity for the Department of Defense, and on March 12th, my wallet was compromised. So it was the ApeCoin exploit. Many people are familiar with it. It was 1.8 million worth of NFTs stolen from pretty much three of us that happened to all hold Psychedelics Anonymous. And mine was like, my computer was exploited. They got to run kind of a lookalike on the background. So I thought the only tab that was open was OpenSea. I thought I was buying a Juicebox Friends, which still blows my mind that that's what I have to admit to being that I was buying on secondary was a Juicebox Friends. And I clicked and it authorized my entire wallet, right? And the FBI ended up getting involved because of the price. So I had to file a police report, talk to OpenSea, talk to MetaMask. They flagged that wallet, of course. That was March 12th. We are in August. And up until this weekend, I still was dealing with NFTs that they couldn't unflag for me, because one of the things that had happened was we knew what they had done is they pretty much stole and flipped the most valuable ones that had a high volume. And then they just put a script against my wallet, not allowing me to move ETH in there, right? So they were pretty much holding about 280 NFTs hostage, but yet they had moved out about 29 or so NFTs. So, for me, like it was like one of those things where like, okay, and this was March. So my background being in cybersecurity, having some people in let's just say in my world, in my team that are pretty good at what they do. So we ended up, isolating the wallet, isolating, where the original, wallet was coming from, who was putting the script against the wallet. And we were technically able to denial of service back the wallet that was holding a script on mine so that I could get back access to my wallet. Now I couldn't get access to the stolen NFTs, of course, but the thing that's interesting about it is like OpenSea's methodology on a centralized marketplace that has a decentralized front end does not make sense for the blockchain, right? Because we can't stop anything once it's moved in the blockchain. I don't care if you're the FBI, right? Like they can't go in there unless they have the actual seed phrase of whoever's they moved it to. But we do have AI and we do have UI, UX improvements that we can do to help people help themselves. Like for me, the fact that if my pop-up simply had what I thought I was paying gas for a transaction, right? If it told me that it was a transfer, not a buy, then I would have simply known that, right? But the same color, the same button. Like I did a whole petitions on MetaMask and said, just change the damn color of the button. And so we would know if it's blue, we're signing something, right? If it's green, we're transferring something. If it's red, we're, maybe that's the one we're authorizing for the wallet. Cause like, I agree with the idea that like, cause once they got flagged, I mean, I still have had over 200 NFTs that are still flagged to this day. Some of them in my own wallet, like I mean, actually almost all of them in my own wallet because I wasn't reselling them. But like, what I had to do to get them unblocked? I had to, get a notarized letter, every single one of them itemized, and they've been going through like 1 or 2 a week for 13 weeks. So like from that side of it, like for me, like it was like, okay, this is the process, right? And I live streamed it. The whole thing is on my YouTube channel. When I got hacked, the first thing I did was hit screen record. And I just watched my NFTs, like, and I don't recommend that for anybody. It's the most gut-wrenching feeling you've ever had, ever. But the reason I bring that up, though, is because the marketplaces trying to fix it is not the answer at all, right? I completely agree with FullyVoxxed, right? Like, there's wait, why are you blocking it? But then people can do it on LooksRare, and kudos to LooksRare and some of the other platforms that at least started flagging it now and saying this might not be tradable on OpenSea. That was like at least a gentle move in the right direction. But I would argue, like, we have AI now that can tell you if this wallet is doing mass transfers from a mass amount of wallets and doing instant drop to floors, we should be able to run a script against that wallet still having access to buy and sell, right? Like there are some things that we can do that aren't stopping the everyday trader, but are allowing like AI to kind of come in and play. But I think right now, like OpenSea doesn't have anything. Like, I mean, do you know the amount of I mean, I have 17 total tickets since the day I got hacked to try to get my own NFTs that were there, like unblocked. And sadly, with the news that came out, when I opened OpenSea on Saturday, the red little banner is no longer there because it's from March. But I can't transfer, I can't sell, I can't move, I can't touch any of the NFTs that were previously flagged. So like now, in a way, that looks even worse because like for a newbie, they're going to open up their OpenSea and say, where did you say the sell button was? And you're like, oh, the sell button's gone. Like, how is that a UI experience to help anybody, right? So like, like my rant is just the idea that like we need wallets to be better at helping us from screwing ourselves over because I mean, I have a decade of experience and I knew I had one tab open. I knew that OpenSea, or that I knew that MetaMask open. Now I will tell you, if I spent 3.8 seconds reading that damn MetaMask pop-up, it would have saved my world. But I literally was like, I'm on OpenSea. I got by this FullyVoxxed. I did just kick my daughters off the computer from playing Roblox. And I was like, hold on, I'm buying the NFT. You can come back and play. I clicked on it thinking nothing less. And little did I know, I gave, access to my entire wallet and watched all that, kind of go down. But I mean, I think it's such an interesting play because I don't think the marketplaces are the answer, but I also don't think, like, I love what you're doing there with, MemeNFT. And I like the idea of putting, tools in the user's hands. But we also have to look at things like, where are the royalties? How do we bake royalties into smart contracts, right? How do we prevent some of these, like, because let's face it, we can prove one thing in this space. If there's a spot for bad people to do bad things, they're going to exploit the living crap out of it, right? And that's what's happening right now with these, marking it stolen 3 minutes after you sell it. So that person puts it on LooksRare for less. You buy it back, you get it unmarked, you make a 30 ETH profit off of your Bored Ape that you just sold, flagged, and then got back. I mean, I watched it happen on a wallet, and I reported the hell out of that. I mean, I think that shady behavior makes us all look bad, but in this case, it's tough because I mean, that feeling that I watched my NFTs get out, I mean, makes me sick to my stomach right now, like feeling that, because it was complete violation, and I did click the wrong button, but I also feel like I checked every box that I should have, and damn, got exploited.
Well, and your wallet is more than just your wallet; it's a damn experience. How many spaces, how many Discord chats, how many launches were you waiting to get all those NFTs from? You put all that time, all that investment. It's more than the money. Yep. It's like it takes everything away from you when you get your wallet hacked.
It's like a relationship, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like getting cheated on.
Something completely mental up here that will break a person down in more ways than just like, oh, I'm upset that my wallet got stolen. That's like, no, that's my freaking life. Like my wallet has so much in it. That's my life if it gets stolen. Like it's crazy. I need to treat my life better. I need to put on a ledger.
I got 4 of them in my house right now. I tell you what, I ledgers. But I like that's a great point too, in like this whole space, right? Like people. I was blessed. Within a half hour of publicly telling people that I had my wallet compromised, and it was wallet with our collection. We're buying one every day. I had 17 project founders offer to airdrop a replacement. 17 without me even saying
That's
anything.
cool.
Which was,
That's
dope. To me, it was another like, I'm not leaving this space. But the funny thing was, like, I was like, but you replacing it doesn't give me that one, even if I didn't like the art. It's the one that had an experience, to your point, right? Like, I bought that. I remember the day that I minted it. I remember, like, there is something to that. And I think, education is a big part. But I mean, these wallets and these tools, I think Marketplace is a great start. And I mean, let's face it, OpenSea has not given 2 craps about anything. I mean, it took me, using my Web2 connections to get in the back door to get anybody in OpenSea to get on the phone call with me, right? Like MetaMask,
Wow.
I mean, kudos to them. They got on the phone call with me before OpenSea did. But I mean, that was a nightmare. And I hope with more marketplace competition, with other marketplaces providing better experiences, it also puts a lot of these places on notice to say, hey, like, you need to step up customer service, customer experience, because that's lacking big time in this space.
Absolutely. Like when you're on a marketplace and you have a problem, you should be able to get a hold of somebody in a reasonable amount of time. Not 2 weeks, not 3 weeks, this is crazy. And the money over there is being mismanaged. Everyone knows, like, LooksRare is like the number 2 giant right now, which isn't, I don't even think, close to touching OpenSea. They pulled in like over $500 million in their first 8 months. What? Where is this money going back to the people using it, to the UI, the UX, all those things that, like, there should be some crazy tech coming out in the NFT space from these marketplaces with the amount of money that's coming in. And that's something that we aim to do at our platform. That's why we give back the 50%. That needs to happen to all these platforms. OpenSea is like, it has been doing layoffs. NFT NYC, they had a 10x10, the most insanely small booth I've ever seen with the most low budget things. And it was blowing my mind based off how much money they're making.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. But some of the takeaways from this as we kind of closed up the show is, what you just said right now, Fanzo, about the founders, 17 different founders reaching directly out to you. And I'm sure without skipping a beat, they were like, it's not about the fact that this guy, supported our project and gave us money. It's about that he holds our NFT. He holds it. I looked in the private chat right now and I see my guy John be like, you got a grandma on that wallet? Because there's a value to the grandmas that Fanzo holds a grandma. There's a value to, like each different person
Bulls
that's
and
out
apes.
there, what they bring to the space. Yeah, like, I mean, both of you guys have been huge supporters of Bulls and Apes from the beginning, and the reality is like that adds to our credibility as a team, that we have awesome friends like you guys, and the fact that people will actually come through and try to do what they can to soften that blow for you. I think that's a cool thing about the space right now. We've got a bunch of people that are in here that are, we got a comment right here saying community love. That's awesome. That's the truth.
Shout out to Gina. I see her in the chat.
Shout out to Gina. She's saying, MemeNFT and Vox, this is the community. Like, people are here live with us right now. And I think that's what matters a lot. And especially just in these early days, we're learning about how to onboard our friends and family by learning from other people here in the space with us. And I think there's no better example of it can happen to anybody than Fanzo. You just said, you've been in this for a long time. You've been in cybersecurity for a long time. You're not some lazy guy who like, oh yeah, man, you just got to do better. Like, no, there's lots of room for improvement. And I think how that happens is we have these conversations and we build those bridges I was talking about earlier. So, guys, I just want to thank you for showing up today and sharing your stories, telling us about what you've been building. And obviously we got to do more of this, but as this is our 3rd episode. I don't want to stop right now. We got a minute left until it's one hour in, and like, bro, I could go for more hours. I could talk forever. But I did just want to say I absolutely acknowledge and appreciate you both big time, as I know the rest of our communities, MemeNFT and NFT 365, all these communities support you guys and appreciate you big time. So thank you for being here.
But hey, we don't want to forget, tell us where to find you guys. Got to get the plug.
Absolutely.
So where do we find you guys? Where FullyVoxxed, can you give us where to find you and where to find MemeNFT?
So MemeNFT on Twitter is at MemeNFT official. You can find me at FullyVoxxed on Twitter or FullyVoxxed.eth on Instagram. I'm not as active on there, but I'm going to be more soon. But Twitter's at FullyVoxxed.
Cool. And anybody that's watching, definitely get on to MemeNFT.com. Check out the beta site. It's really cool. I've been scrolling around in it while we've been talking, and it's a really nice layout. I appreciate that. And Fanzo, tell us about, we've already talked about the 365, but where can we find you? What time? What you got going on?
Yeah, of course. No, I appreciate it. We actually have a new YouTube. We do video for all of our podcasts, and it was kind of like on my personal channel as a playlist. But we actually decided to launch a dedicated NFT 365 YouTube channel. So it's just NFT 365. We're just getting that kicked off as kind of moving some content over. And then on all the channels, we are NFT 365 podcast. We're available on 84 different podcasting apps. Every episode is video and audio. We kind of get the video up about 48 hours after the audio is out there. And I'm iSocialFans with a Z at the end on every single social. So that's pretty easy to put me out there. But yeah, excited. Always fun to be here. We have a pretty cool bull in our collection, which is exciting. To me, it's naked with it's the not rainbow, it's I think the splash color. It's the white with all the different. Yeah, it's definitely a cool one in there. So whoever buys the collection November 11th, that'll be one of the 365 NFTs they'll get in their collection. So. Appreciate you guys having me on.
And maybe it's the creator. We don't know.
Maybe it's the creator.
Oh, no.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to link up your guys' stuff below in the video. So if anybody's watching this and you want just a quick link, we're going to put everything down below. So boys, don't go away. I'm going to end the broadcast. Hang around for a bit. We'll chat for a sec before I let you go. Everybody else, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be back on Monday at 6 p.m. CST. And the Monday after that and the Monday after that. We're not going to stop this. So thank you all for being here. Everybody that was awesome in the chat today, all of our friends. We will see you guys next Monday. And of course, like literally in minutes from now, we'll probably see you back in Twitter Spaces where we're all hopelessly addicted to. So,
Oh, yeah.
Hey, can't end with anything better than that. We'll see you guys.
See you guys.